Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner with the DeKalb County Library System, and I'm coming to you with another program. Today, we're going to do something for International Women's Day, and I was looking at all of the information, and the symbol this year is a pose, which is a crossed arms pose. And I was trying to find something that looked like crossed arms, and the only thing I could really find was the letter X. So anyway, there we go. We're striking our pose. And so we're going to make an X charm. And if you've done any wire work, I'm sure that you've seen there are numerous people who have told you how to make letters with wire. Well, this is just going to be one of them because the only thing I could think of was an X. And so we're going to be making the letter X as a charm, and we're going to be making a bracelet to put your charm on. So we're going to be making, excuse me, my goodness. We're going to be making a wire wrapped link chain to put your charm on. And the beauty of this chain is it's made in such a way that you can add more charms if you want to down the road, or you can keep this a very special piece with just your crossed arms pose. And when people say, your name doesn't begin with an X, you can explain what it's for. So that's what we're going to do today. Just something a little fun and a little bit different. We're going to be using what I decided to do with instead of just using one color wire to make a link chain, which is fine. I decided to use several colors. So I pulled out pretty much all of my different colors of wire. And the chain we're making is going to be copper, gold, bronze. I'm looking at all the wire I have down here. Copper, gold, bronze, antique bronze, vintage copper, and I'm missing something, silver. So those of you who get kits are going to get lengths of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors of wire, in addition to the bronze that we're going to be using to make our charm. So it's going to be all different colors of natural metal colored wire that you can use for your charm. And then again, like I said, you can go ahead and put all kinds of charms on that, and it won't matter what color, because whatever color metal or beads that you want to use will go with this, because every color of metal is going to be used in this particular bracelet, except maybe hematite. Silver is kind of close to hematite, but whatever. So we're going to do that now, and the things that you're going to need are round nose pliers. I'm using these needle nose squared off pliers, and I also have a pair of flat square pliers, cutters, a ruler, and I'm using 21 gauge square wire, because we are going to not only make a charm, we're going out of a letter, and I have not seen this done, so this is neat. We're going to do it with a twist, meaning we're going to take our square wire, we're going to twist it so that the wire is textured, and then we're going to make our charm. So in addition to the square 21 gauge wire, and I would suggest probably not going any higher in number than 20 gauge, maybe 22 gauge. 22 gauge would be fine. This is 21, 22 will probably work. I wouldn't go any larger gauge, smaller size wire than that, because it may not be strong enough. I wasn't as sure about the 21 gauge, except that by the time you twist it and otherwise manipulate it, it gets very, very strong. So you don't have to worry about it not being strong enough for your charm. So anyway, in addition to that, we need all of our other wire that we're going to use. And I'm going to use 20 gauge copper wire in all different colors. And you can use whatever colors you want. Those of you who get kits, again, will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different shades of round, soft dead soft round wire and 1 piece of square wire for your charm. Okay, I think that's enough, and a ruler. A ruler is the other thing that you need in order to measure out your wire. And I think that's everything we need. So let's get started on our piece. Okay, so what I've got here is 5.5 inches of wire because I want to end up with 5 inches of the square wire. And once I twist it, I probably won't lose more than 1/4, maybe 3/8 of an inch in the twisting, but it would be better to have a little bit more than not enough. So I'm giving myself 5.5 inches of wire because I'm going to twist it, and the ends are not going to be usable because I'm going to have to put a little turn in this in order to hold one side and then hold the other side and twist it. And those ends are not going to be usable after that. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and go down here to the tip of my square wire, and I'm going to put a little curve in there so I have something to hold on to. This is just to hold my wire in place, and then I'm going to take another pair of pliers. I would suggest flat pliers, square pliers, not round pliers. You can use round pliers, but I think you can get a better grip with the square pliers. So I'm going to take those pliers, and I'm just going to grasp about 1/4 of an inch of the end so I don't lose too much in the twisting. And now I'm just going to start to twist my wire until I start to see the twist. And we've done twisted wire before, but we've always twisted 2 or more pieces of wire together. I've never had a chance to use the square wire. So when I found some at what I guess was a relatively reasonable price, I snapped it up because I have been wanting to do twisted wire with just a piece of wire in so long. I've seen other people do it, and I thought it was a really neat way to texture your wire and just get a different kind of a look. Now, when you do this by hand, there are gadgets that you can use. I forget what, there's something that you can use, some kind of a clamp that you can use to put your wire in to make your to do your twists. But we're just doing it manually because I don't like people to have to go out and buy something that they may only use once or twice. I just am a little more frugal than that. And this is perfectly doable. You're going to have to twist it maybe 30 or 40 times by hand, but it's not exactly hard to do. It just takes a minute. As a matter of fact, it's probably not going to take more than 2 minutes to get it where I want it to go. And it also depends on how much of a twist you want. You don't want to twist too much because you can actually over twist and snap your wire. It's a little hard to do when you're doing it manually because you're going to get to a point where it's really hard to twist it. And so it really would be difficult to snap your wire. Now, if you were using a device where you're not in as much control as to how much twisting you do, then yeah, I would think there might be a danger. But depending on how much texture you want in your wire, how much of a twist, that will determine, of course, how many times you twist your wire and how much time it takes to do it. I'm going to scoot up here a little bit, see if I can get a better twist on. Up a little further. Just be careful not to grip it too hard because I don't want to damage my wire. I just want to get up here and get some good twisting in. Oh, neat, huh? Now it's nicely textured. Whereas before it was just straight. It's just straight like this. Now you can see the difference. And it makes it a lot stronger. So now I think that's as twisted as I want. Maybe I'll give it a couple more twists just because, just for the heck of it. That is so neat. I love it. Okay, so now my wire is nicely twisted. Neat, huh? Really catches the light. So now I'm going to snip off these ends that aren't usable because they didn't get twisted because they were being used to anchor the wire. So I'm going to snap that off. Snap the other end off. Let's see how much I have left. Five inches. There we go. Excellent. I gave myself 5.5 inches. I have 5 inches left, which is exactly what I wanted. Perfect. So now, straighten that out a little bit. There. So now it's time to make my X. So what I'm going to do, you can eyeball this. It depends on how big or small you want your X to be, but I'm going to give myself about 2 inches of wire right there on one end. And I'm going to put a bend in my wire, like so. And I'm going to push the 2 pieces of wire together and just squeeze them as close together as I can get. And because this is nice and strong now, you might need to use your pliers in order to close that up a little bit, which is what I want. I want the 2 pieces of wire to just lay one behind the other. Straighten that out. Okay, so there are my 2 pieces of wire. There's the short one here and the long one right behind it. So now what I'm going to do is take the long piece of wire. I'm going to give myself about 1/2 inch. This is going to be the bottom part of my wire. So it depends on how big you want your X to be. So I know that this is going to be the bottom half of my X. So it's going to go like that. So if you want it smaller, you can make it smaller, but I'm going to go with a nice 1/2 inch. Where is it? There we go. 1/2 inch. A little bend in there in my long one. And I'm going to bend it out to the side. So here it is. There's the short one on the top, the long one on the bottom. I'm going to bend it out to the side like so and point it down. So now I have the bottom half of my X. See that? And then I'm going to bring that same long stem up and cross it over the short one to the front. The short one is in the front, the long one is in the back. I'm going to cross the long one up, bend it up over the short one in the front. So I'm going to go down here. This side is 1/2 inch. I want this side to also be 1/2 inch. Again, you can eyeball it or you can measure it, whichever you're more comfortable with. So yeah, about 1/2 inch. Let's go to the 1/2 inch mark. put a little bend in it and then take a look just to make sure it looks good. That looks pretty good. I'm going to bend that up over the short wire. I can see where it probably needs to be a little longer. Make that adjustment. Bend, bend. I like to make my adjustments as I go. And then we need to squeeze them together just like we did the first one. Trying to squeeze it with my fingers and it's so strong right now. Okay, so let's take my pliers and squeeze that closed. Nice and easy. Yeah. Let's cross those over. And now you can see my X. So what I want to do is cut down the top to the same size as the bottom. Squish that in a little more. Yeah, there we go. So I want the top and the bottom to be about the same size. You can make the top longer if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But I want them to be approximately the same so that it looks like crossed arms. So I'm going to give myself, this is about 1/2 inch down at the bottom. So I'm going to give myself about an inch at the top, because what I can do, if it's too long, I can always cut it down. If it's too short, I have to start all over. So I'm going to cut it down to about 1 inch because I'm going to make a loop on top. And if that's too much, I will cut it down a little bit more. So I'm going to chop that off there. I'm going to cut the other side down to 1 inch also. Where my X is from where my wire crosses over, just cut that down. Yeah, okay, so now let's make a loop. Again, like I said, if it's too long, that's about a fraction of an inch longer than I want. If it's too long, you can always cut it down. If it's too short, I have to start again. So I prefer to err on the side of too much instead of too little. So now I'm just going to make a tiny little loop on each side. One's just going to be for decorative purposes. And the other one is going to hold, why is this blurry? And the other one is going to hold your jump ring so that you can attach it to your bracelet. So I'm just going to make a small loop here. Grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Don't want anything sticking out the back. And I'm just going to make a little loop. Just rotate my pliers until I get a small loop off to the side here. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. And just rotate. I'm going about 1/3 of the way back. And you can also stick your pliers in the other loop just to see approximately how big that one is, and then repeat it on the other side. Let's make a little loop. I can see this one's a little bit bigger than the other one, so I'm going to just squeeze it in a little bit so that they're closer to the same size. There we go. There's my X. And now, this is obviously longer than that. Do I want it smaller? Maybe a little bit. So now I'm going to show you how to fix that. In order to make this length a little bit smaller to match the bottom, all I need to do is clip the inside of my loop, just clip off about 1/8 of an inch or so, and then close up my loop again, and that will make the stem smaller. See? See how that works? Let's go to the other side and do the same thing. Clip off that 1/8 of an inch or so. Get rid of that tail. And close up my loop again. And then make whatever adjustments I need to. Now, see that? I think that's pretty good. I could make this even smaller up here, just so it's more in keeping with what I've got down at the bottom, if I wanted to. And I think I will. Just this a little bit. Yeah, okay, let's cut that down just a little more. Side. Let's see what we have now. Ah, yes. There it is. My camera looks like it's going back and forth on me again, but look at that. Neat, huh? Here's my X. Here's my crossed arm pose. Ta-da! I can't show you on camera. Okay, yeah, sort of like that. Here's my charm. Now all I need is a jump ring to attach it. Now let's make our chain. Yay! Okay, so what we're going to do now, get all these little scraps out of the way, is make our chain. So what I'm going to do, this is what it's going to look like. Very, very, very simple, very easy to make. And then our little charm will attach to that. So what we're going to do is take a piece, ooh, this is 5 pounds of wire and it is heavy, is take a piece of wire. And like I said, you're all going to get in your kits, you're going to get several lengths of different colors of wire. I would suggest that you not cut it and just make your lengths from the long stem of wire, and then that way you don't waste as much. So what I need for each one is about 2.5 to 3 inches, depending on how many wraps I make. So, and how big you make your loops. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut 6 inches. And start on my loops. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is give myself about 3/4 of an inch. Straighten that out a little bit. 3/4 of an inch of wire from the tip. And just bend it back so that's right off to the side like that. Yeah, I moved the camera. There we go. So it's right off to the side like that. I have my little 3/4 of an inch here and the long piece of wire here. Then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to make a big loop, a large loop, because one side of this has a large loop and the other side that's wrapped, the other side has a small loop that's not wrapped. So I'm going to grab the long tail of wire, go back to almost the back of my pliers. All pliers aren't created equal, so it just depends on how big you want your loop to be. I'm going 3/4 of the way back on my pliers, and I'm going to rotate my pliers and make a loop with the long tail of wire. So I'm going to rotate until I have a nice big loop. Then I'm going to take my flat pliers. I'm going to grab my loop and I'm going to start wrapping around my stem. And I just did 7 wraps on all my others. So I'm going to continue with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 a little bit, 6, 7. And again, I'm using 20 gauge wire for my links. And you can use 18 gauge, 22 gauge is about as small as I would go. Because you're wrapping it, it will be nice and strong. So you don't have to worry about that, but I wouldn't go any larger in gauge than 22 for my links, just to make sure that they're nice and strong. Now I'm going to go ahead and clip off this end. And I can see there's a little space in between my wires, so I'll show you how to fix that. But first, I'm going to clip off this end. And then I'm going to push this little tail down so that it won't do any damage. And I'm also going to push my rings together so that they're nice and neat and tidy. Just push those ends down, that end down, so it doesn't scratch me. And I always give it the finger test. If it doesn't scratch my finger, then I know I pushed it down far enough. Just neaten up those rings a little bit. And there's my wrapped loop. And you can also go in and adjust the loop a little bit if you need to, if it's not quite centered the way you want. Just make some adjustments. So there's my large loop. So now I'm going to make a small simple loop, and my large loop you can see is flat. The ring of it is towards my mat. The ends of it are going towards and away from me. Now my small loop is going to go the opposite direction. These are going side to side. My small loop, when I make it, is going to be going up and down. So it's going to be completely opposite. So what I want to do is bend back my wire. I just use my fingernail to do it. But if you don't want to hurt your fingernails, you can bend it back with your pliers. Again, this is the ring. I want to bend it the opposite direction of my ring so that when I make this one, the ring is going to be going completely opposite to the other one. So now I'm going to make a small loop, and I just want it to be a small loop. So I only want about 5/8 of an inch at the most, and that's exactly what I have. So now I'm just going to make a simple loop. However, I can see where this isn't quite flat. So I'm going to snip off the end to make sure it's nice and straight across. There. Now what I like to do, this is a little trick of mine, is take the tip of my pliers and make a little curve at the tip of my wire. So I just have a little bit of a curve. Then I'm going to go back to where I want my loop to start, and I'm going to make my loop. The reason I do that is because if I start with a straight edge of wire, there's a possibility that I'm going to end up with a loop that's more like an oval than it is round. This way, I have a nice round loop. Now, as you can see, my loop is a little farther away from it, a little further away from my rings than I want. I want that end of the loop to be right against my rings. So this is good. So I can show you how to fix that, just like we did with our X symbol. I can just snip off the inside right down there near the bottom of my loop. Just snip off a little fraction of an inch. And then reform my loop, just close it up again. And there we have it. Nice and perfect. Great. So there's my large loop. There's my small loop. And as you can see, they're running opposite each other. That is perfect. So now the way we link them together is just open up the small loop. Just open that out to the side. Slide that small loop into the large loop. Close it back up. And there we go. Let's attach that to the rest of the chain. Open that small loop. Slide on the large loop and close. Come on. I hope you can see what I was doing. All right. So then the next thing I need to do is measure it to see what size I want it to be. My wrist is about 7.5 inches. And so I want at least that. And then I know that my clasp is going to add another good 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make one more link with my other piece of wire, just like I did this one. Straighten that out. And 3/4 of an inch. Bend that back out to the side, just like we did before. Around those pliers, make a loop on that large tail. Probably a little bigger. How do we fix that? We go back in, slide it down to where I want it, which is right about there, and just make it a little bigger. Just have to manipulate my wire just a little bit. There we go. And now, that out. There we go. Let's wrap. Wrappity wrap, wrap. And I did 7 wraps. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Come on, around there. Just enough for the remainder. Oops, come on. Bend in there, and let's push that the rest of the way around. Go, go, go. Yeah, just enough. Perfect. This is why I say don't cut. This way, you don't have to. And you might have a little bit of waste, but you'll waste less if you start with a larger, longer piece of wire than if you try to cut exact amounts. Okay, let's fix my little loop. It's looking a little misshapen. Better, better, better. Okay, now let's make my small loop. This little curvy tip here. Bend it back. Grab my round nose pliers. It's still sticking up a little. Okay, do that little trick that I told you about. It's making a little tiny curve. and go back to where I want my loop, which is about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, and rotate until I have a loop. Let's take a look. This looks a little bit bigger than the others, just a little teeny tiny bit. So again, let's go back in, take my pliers, clip off a teeny tiny fraction of the wire, and close that loop back up just to make it smaller. There we go. Large loop, small loop. And let's attach it. Go. Now let's measure and see what I have. I have 7.5 inches. What do you think about that? Now I need to put on, just check. Yeah. Yes, very good. Now it's time for my clasp. And I'm going to make the clasp the exact same way that I made my links, except that I'm going to put a hook on it instead of a loop on both ends. One end is going to be a loop, the other end is going to be a hook, and that's going to hook in to the other side, the link of my bracelet. Now, the question is, what color do I want my hook to be? Do I want to follow the pattern that I've used so far, which is antique or vintage bronze or antique copper, copper, silver, vintage bronze, gold? Do I want to follow that pattern? Why not? If I do, that means the next one is going to, oh, and silver. I forgot silver. 1, 2. Antique copper, silver, bronze, gold, bronze. Okay, so that means my next one would be silver. So do I want to make my hook silver or not? Actually, I want to pick one of these other colors. I have 3 of the copper, 3 of the antique copper, 2 gold, 2 vintage bronze. I'm going with the vintage bronze. Let's do that. So I again need about 3 inches. I'm going to give myself 3.5 inches. And again, you're better off having more than you need than not enough. Okay, so I need a good inch for my hook. So I'm going to give myself 1.25 inches so that when I wrap, I need 3/4 of an inch for my hook, so that when I wrap, if I have 1.25 inches, I'm going to have a good 3/4 of an inch left after my wrap is made. So I'm going to bend the wire back again, just like I did before for my links. Make a nice loop. Doesn't have to be huge. Just make a nice loop, just go all the way around, just like I did before. And then I'm going to wrap around the short stem. Again, just like I did before. Very repetitive. 3, 4. And this one does not have to be the same number of wraps as your others. This is very organic, so you can decide how you want your hook to look. 6. I'm just sticking with a pattern. And 7. Sure my links are nicely together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Close that up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. Snip that off. Push down that little end. Make our hook. So just like I did the other one, I'm going to bend back the wire. I can see this does not have to be this long. It only needs to be about 3/4 of an inch, and it's a little more than 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to cut it down to that 3/4 mark. And I could see that by eyeballing it, but if you're not as familiar, you might want to measure just so you don't make any mistakes. So now I need to make a little tiny loop. And I want my loop to be going down. This is bent back. My loop is going to be underneath. And because it needs to be so small, I'm going to use the tip of my pliers, start a turn, and just go 3/4 of the way around. I'm not going to completely close it up, and I will show you why. Okay, 3/4 of the way. And then I'm going to take my flat pliers and squeeze that closed. So I just want a little bit of a nub. And you can't get it with your pliers because it needs to be smaller than the tip of your pliers. So once I have that, I go back in with my round nose pliers. I'm going to go all the way back, almost to the very back of my pliers. And this is what I call the bottom. The bottom of my loop is the part where the opening is. The top of my loop is the part where the long extension is. So I'm going to slide my wire down almost to the back of my pliers. Here's the bottom. I'm going to rotate away from the bottom with my pliers. All the way around until I have a shepherd's hook. There we go. Somebody called that Mary's little hook. Cute. Then I can adjust my loop down here so that it's nice and straight. With my ring, and then attach it to my bracelet. Just open up that loop, slide it on, and close. And there's my link chain bracelet. Now all that's left to do Oh, and you know what? You can, if you want to, you can hammer this a little bit just to make sure that it's as strong as you want it to be. Close that up just a little bit more. So I can take my little rubber mallet just give it a few taps. Now it's nice and strong. Oops. I like my loop to be very close to my rings so that I know that when I fasten it, this isn't going to come out. That's a personal preference. Some people like it to be a little bit open, but that's just the way I like it, because I like to make sure that when I go like this, it's not going to come apart and fall off my arm. So there's my chain bracelet. Very, very easy and simple to make. Now all that's left is for me to attach my charm. And like I said, you have all of these little loops that you can add more charms to if you so desire. So let's attach. All I need is a jump ring. Did I bring a jump ring? Did I? Did I? I don't believe I did. Shame on me. Okay, let me get a jump ring. And I will be right back. I don't know why this thing keeps going blurry all of a sudden. Okay, anyway, jump ring, hold on. Okay, I've got my jump ring and I'm going to attach it right on the opposite side. My charm, I'm going to attach it right on the opposite side of, right opposite of my clasp. Okay, so here's the proper way to open a jump ring. Here's the opening right here. I'm going to put my pliers, one pair of pliers on one side of my jump ring. I'm going to show you two ways. So I'm going to do that, and then I can just push down with my thumb on the opposite side of the opening and push it open. Or I can take a second set of pliers and I can twist to open, like so. Either way works, either way is fine. I would just not suggest pulling it apart because then you distort your circle and it's hard to get it back in a circular shape again. So now what I want to do is attach my charm, decide which one of my rings I want to put it in, slide that jump ring into the ring and close it back up. And there we are. Here's my charm bracelet with my little crossed arm symbol. Neat, huh? I like it. Let's try that on. There it is, folks. There's my bracelet with my crossed arms symbol. Neat, huh? I like that. And I really like that I decided to go ahead and use all of these different colors of wire, just because. No other reason that I could. Ta-da! Neat, huh? I like that. It really looks a lot more delicate than it actually is. Sort of like us. It's very strong. And this little guy right here, I can't even bend that with my fingers. I cannot believe how strong it is considering how delicate it looks. I love it. Now, like I said, you can make this as big or as small as you want. It's entirely up to you, your dimensions. I used 5 inches of wire, and this is what I ended up with. It's about from end to end, it's about 7/8 of an inch. So there we have it. That's our piece for today. International Women's Day. Look it up. This is actually Women's Month, Women's History Month. So do a little research, take a little tour through all of the wonderful things that women have done throughout the years. It's really kind of fascinating. There were a lot of things that I did not know, and I'm a female. So it's a really interesting trip through history to see some things and find some things that you may not have realized that women have done, created. Just take a look. It's really neat. Anyway, that's my piece for today. International Women's Month is this, or Women's Month is this month. International Women's Day is February 1st. Sorry, I need to show it off. Is February 1st. And this is us. This is our symbol. Break the bias. That's the slogan. And that's what we need to do. Okay, so anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm trying to center myself. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope, get up there. I hope that you will make one of these and explain what the reason behind it is. I had fun making it. I'm so glad I got a chance to use the square wire and do some twisting. We just did a very familiar item, letter charm with a twist. So I hope you like this. Please let me know one way or the other. Give me some feedback. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I think my camera was acting crazy and snarky again today. If there was anything that you didn't understand or didn't get, please feel free to email me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. And please send pictures to the library Facebook page. That's always a thrill. So if you want to make the bracelet, if you make the bracelet, please let us see pictures. You can either post them on the library Facebook page, or you can send them to the email, the Gmail address that I just gave you, and I'll post them on the Facebook page. One way or the other, I do like to see what you've done. And until we come back with another tutorial, have a great week, have a great day, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.